Hi everyone and welcome! For this painting, I'm working on a 50 by 70 centimeter canvas. I'm starting with a collage base, carefully placing some of my favorite decorative papers onto the canvas. To adhere them, I'm using a gel matte medium, basically in this scenario a fancy glue. Once it's dry, I put a layer of fluid matte medium on top to seal the paper. Now it's time to use the stencils and create textures. This is my favorite stencil to use. I think it adds a bit of mystery to the painting. I'm using modeling paste over it to create a raised 3D effect. This is just the best part, isn't it nice? Quick, easy and effective. I love stencils. I'm also removing the modeling paste where I don't want it. Luckily the paste stays wet long enough to make adjustments. Next, I'm adding several structure pastes around the collage paper and in other places to build even more texture. Now it's time for the acrylic inks. I'm using blue, green and black with no strict plan, just letting it flow. This is the first layer, so I'm free to experiment and play. I don't stress about covering the textures, they will be highlighted later. I also don't worry about the collage paper because I want it to be really incorporated into the painting. The background turned out a little too green, so I balanced it with blue and grey tones, adding black mostly around the edges. I'm also using a sea sponge to add some lighter colors like light blue or pink, and then I tone it down in some places a bit of grey again. Then I add some drippage And the background is done. Next up, I sketch the portrait using charcoal and lock it in place with a fixative to prevent smudging. I begin with black and white to establish the values, layering until I'm happy with it. Come with golden open acrylics, where I add subtle hints of purple and beige to the face, plus a touch of blue in the eye, keeping a mostly monochromatic feel. The hair goes through many changes before I settle on a final shape. Also add feathers and, naturally, more drippage. Because, let's be real, drips just make everything look cooler. At one point, the hair had too much drippage. Who knew that was possible? So I softened it with a misty effect and refined the details in the hair. And what's a dramatic portrait without roses? For these, I used polymer clay, which hardens after baking. Actually, the first rose I made turned out to be the best one. Beginner's luck, I guess. Here it is before baking, and here's another one that's already baked, so I can show it to from the back side, which is very ugly, so quickly back to the front. I also used wooden embellishments that I painted in a gorgeous metallic red wine shade, which I carried into other parts of the painting, like the edges of the roses, leaves, and background textures. Once everything was securely glued in place, the painting was complete. And here it is, the finished piece. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the process as much as I did. Have a colorful day.